not seen the wonderful 80s, best 80s movie ever, The Princess Bride? There's fencing, fighting, torture, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, and miracles. All good things, right? So, what's interesting though, is that Cassini, right, has captured the princess. The man in black wants to get the princess back. So they engage to have a battle of wits. What was the battle of wits about?
Who would drink the poison?
What?
Who would drink the poison?
Who would drink the poison, right? Because they're trying to figure out what glass to drink from. What argument did Cassini give to drink from what glass? What were some of his arguments?
That clearly he would have put the poison in front of him because he was strong to beat the giant.
Okay, so he would be the giant. But then he countered that with what?
Spaniard.
You've also bested my Spaniard, which is in regards to Inigo Montoya, right? And Inigo Montoya is a wonderful dueling person, fighter person. Hi, you're late. Nice to see you. That's fine. Never mind. I'm sorry to embarrass you in front of everyone. Okay. So, he had a direct counter. How did he decide between which glass?
There was no reason.
There was no reason, right? He had an argument for the glass in front of him and an argument against the glass in front of him. Okay? How many of you have been in a debate like that? Where we have an argument, where Troy has an argument and I have an argument. Which one do we choose? Okay. But how do you know which one to choose? Besides the fact that you all like me better.
He's wearing a button. He's wearing a button. He wins.
Yeah.
Troy, you owe us now.
We get one free.
Guys, this is a little silly, but it's actually really important. How many of you have lost a round because a judge didn't agree that your argument was better? Every time, okay? So how can you show the judge that your argument is better?
Give reasons.
Weighing. Okay, who knows what weighing is? Okay, what do we weigh? Max, you seem very excited. Impacts. Okay, yeah, we can weigh impacts. What was the impact in this scenario? Both was about death, right? Which one would provide death? So impacts equal level, right? Can't really weigh impacts in this scenario. So how do we decide which glass to drink?
Which is stronger?
What?
Which one has a better link?
Oh, okay, so some kind of link story, link mapping, right? Where do we derive that from?
Like, which one was more probable to give you death?
Okay, what do we call that? What are the reasons for deducing something? Any Sherlock fans? What do we look for?
Clues.
Clues! I guess that's more like Blue's Clues than like Sherlock. Okay, so we look for evidence. What is evidence? A card. Okay, what else is evidence?
Facts.
What? So what are some other kinds of evidence, y'all? What else? Guys, listen. What are some other kinds of evidence? A warrant. Okay, what's a warrant?
The reason why.
Okay, so evidence is synonymous with a warrant, right? What kind of evidence is important?
Empirical.
What?
Empirical and analytical.
Can't hear you.
Both.
Both what?
Empirical.
What are the different types of evidence?
Empirical and analytical.
Empirical and analytical.
And scientific.
And scientific. Although, they're not like completely binary categories. For instance, we can draw conclusions from empirical data, right? What's the difference between empirical and analytical?
Empirical has.
Megan?
Empirical has like statistics and analytical is
empirical.
Who says empirical? Who says analytical? Who thinks that there's not a divide? Okay, couple reasons. So, what do we know? Empirical is based on something that is concrete, something that is proven, right? Something that we can see happen in the past, generally represented by statistics. Giants are strong. He beat the giant, therefore, he must be stronger than the giant, right? That is something that has happened in the past. And then projected to, oh, he can therefore survive the poison. Okay? Any questions? So which one's better?
Empirical.
Why?
Because you can base it on facts.
That sounds like a claim. Anybody have a reason?
Analytical because you can prove causation.
Okay, because you can prove causation. This is another good thing. What is causation and what is the other thing that is not as good? Also starts with a C, back here.
Causation and correlation.
Causation and correlation. What is correlation? Yes, right here.
It kind of just like happens at the same time or in the same area, but it doesn't mean one's caused by the other.
Exactly. So what would an example of that be? Jacob.
There was over an extra 1,000 violent video games sold last year, and there was an extra 500 violent acts from last year, thus correlation.
Exactly. So the argument would be, oh, if we have 1,000 more violent video games sold and 500 more violent acts, some people would try to draw a causation between the violent video games and the violent acts. But since we don't know if the people who committed those crimes watched the video games and therefore lashed out because of that, they just might be correlated. They might have occurred simultaneously out of a coincidence. Any questions? So which one's better?
Causation.
Okay. Causation. What else? Can studies and statistics prove causation? Has anybody heard of the phrase statistical significance? Raise your hand if you have. Jessica, can you explain statistical significance?
Well, basically, like, you analyze your data. When there's, like, you take statistics in high school, you'll learn how there's, like, t-tests and, like, chi-square tests to show that your data is significant, and you can reject the null hypothesis with, like, 99 or 95% of, like, confidence.
Great explanation. Confidence is the idea that you can prove that your conclusions are correct, meaning you have a low margin of error, makes your statistics statistically significant. Make sense? Okay. Who here has compared evidence before? Who hasn't compared evidence before? Okay, Max, come here. Should have done it. All right, Alex too. Okay. All right. You're gonna say so. Why? Okay. Your argument is okay. You're gonna prove. We're gonna go with the Vicini thing, right? The Man in Black, the thing that we all just watched, right? Okay. So somebody say one argument that Vicini made. Okay, you bested my giant, which means you're exceptionally strong. You're this one, okay? You bested my Spaniard, which means you must have studied to learn that man is mortal. Okay? Everyone understand? I want you to compare these arguments because you're going to have to decide which poison to drink.
But what if we...
No, it's a theoretical experiment.
Also, what if I've seen the movie
Okay.
and know better?
Help me out. Help me out. Why is this argument strong? Louder? Louder? We're talking about giants now. Yeah, why is the argument that you've bested my giant a good idea? If you don't know, you can sit down. We're going to go all to a drill of this.
It's a good idea because giants are generally strong most of the time.
Okay.
So if you're invested, that generally means that you're stronger than I'm invested.
So that means, impact it.
That means that therefore you are strong because you invested strong giant.
Therefore, we should not drink the poison in front of the man in
I know how.
Okay, Rourke.
Alright, so his argument's better than his because the point of it is to see if he could outsmart the other guy by picking what poison he put in. So if he invested his family, meaning he was smart, then he would have a critique to know which one is like the safe thing.
So you wouldn't choose the poison in front of Bassini.
I don't know what that is, but that argument's better.
I
Okay,
wouldn't choose either of
Here's
them
what's
because I've
great.
seen the movie.
Both arguments have the potential to be really, really strong. They already have a warrant. So how do we weigh the warrants?
Look at the
impact.
What?
Look at the impact.
We only look at but the impact in this case is both death.
Methodology.
Methodology, that's great. That's exactly what should happen.
So, how do we weigh methodologies?
What is methodology?
How do you come up with it?
Say that again, one at a time now.
Okay.
Sarai.
How do you get the conclusion from your evidence?
Okay, so methodology refers to how do we get to the conclusion of our study, or whatever our argument is, right? I really like debating methodologies when we have two competing statistics saying opposite things, right? Because at the end of the day, you have one number on one side and one number at the other side. It seems kind of sort of arbitrary if you don't effectively weigh methodologies.
I.e. how those numbers were derived, or how the people got those numbers. Okay? So all things being equal, i.e. the difference is only the number or the statistic, and they are exact opposite conclusions, then something must be an issue, right? What else can we do? What else is part of the methodology? Jacob.
How a study was done.
Okay, so how is conducted? So those are things like sample size. What is a sample size?
Zaina?
Like how many people they studied or evaluated.
Right. The population from which the statistic was derived. What are some other things?
When it was taken, how recent it was.
Okay, so remember we talked about a little bit, so post-dating only matters when? If something has changed from the status quo, or like what is currently happening that would affect the study. So for example, if we get the study from calling people on their landlines at their house, why would that not be as an accurate portrayal? Alex?
Because, like, nobody uses landlines anymore.
Except really old people, like your grandma and grandpa, right? Or Troy, apparently. Okay? So, that sample size, while conducted well and probably large enough, doesn't necessarily hold the same weight. Because it wasn't conducted in a good way. Anybody know any other things in terms of garnering sample size and asking population questions? Has anyone ever heard of a double-blind study?
Yes.
A double-blind study.
Do you mind telling us what a double-blind study is?
It's been a while, but I think it's whenever the people who are in the study and the people who are conducting the study don't really know like what's going on. So for example, like if you're doing a study at a hospital, you may be getting like a vaccine and something that's like a placebo. And so even the doctor and as well as you don't know if you're getting the placebo or the vaccine.
Good. Does everyone understand that? Raise your hand if you don't understand it and we can explain it in a different way. Awesome. So what is a placebo? Anybody heard that word before? Okay, so let's say Troy is really nervous. And I say, Troy, this marker is magic. It'll make you talk really, really well and sound perfect. I did that on purpose. Okay? So then if Troy sounds really confident and does a really good presentation, but then I tell him, marker's not magic. What was that? Because we know the marker doesn't really do anything. Right?
It made him think that he would do better.
It made him think. So if we use a double-blind study, and I don't know if this marker is magic or not, then nothing I say necessarily double-blind study is? Cool. So the purpose of a double-blind study is to prevent bias in the statistic and in the conclusion, right? To make the study more accurate. Okay? Any other? So obviously, do we all read just statistics in rounds?
No.
What are some other things that we talk about?
Analytics.
Analytics. So how do we weigh analytics? Back here, yeah.
Magnitude.
Magnitude, what's that?
How much it affects a certain aspect of what it affects.
Are we talking about impacts or are we talking about analytics?
Analytics.
So what's the magnitude of an analytic then?
Well, how much you portray as it affecting people?
I think that's a good start. Can anybody else have a way to weigh analytics?
You can like look at the amount of time the researchers spent into making the analytical arguments.
Oh, so it's about the expertise of somebody,
And
right? Why does that matter? Maggie.
Because the reason it's in there is because it's from an expert opinion, not something that you personally specialize in.
Right. This is especially important when we're trying to deduce a meaning from something and therefore understand why it's significant. So we can compare, right? So if we have a study that says done the same way, same sample size, both double-blind studies, and we draw opposite conclusions from it. I draw a conclusion F, Troy draws a conclusion of neg. Okay? How do we compare those then? What do we focus on? Let's say my study, so both of these are studies about Heidegger. Okay? And let's say my study that goes my way, that I'm reading, is by Koschak. And the study that Troy is reading comes from my cat sitting on some ink and then on some paper. Silly, right?
Stokely Carmichael to
So
the
who's
win. Vote Stokely.
Whose
Well, cat.
citation, whose author is more credible?
Cat.
Stokely.
Cat. Cat.
Stokely Carmichael.
Okay, guys,
Cat.
this is a silly example, so let's try one a little bit more difficult. Okay? Let's say my study is by Koschak. Okay? And it concludes my neg, right? Troy's study is by Arun. Yeah. And it concludes app. How do we then weigh?
Aru.
Koschak.
Guys,
Aru.
Aurora.
Look at their experience in the topic.
Okay, there's CV. Koschak is older than Arun. By a lot. By like 3 dinosaur ages. That makes me like 4 dinosaur ages. Okay? Yeah.
What if you made the argument that Koschak is outdated?
Remember, when does post-dating matter?
Something's changed.
If something has changed that would affect the interpretation. For instance, post-dating really matters when we're talking about something that is constantly in flux. Heidegger is really, really old. Does it matter?
No.
Yes.
If something's
Does the interpretation of what Heidegger wrote, 100 years ago? Basically, like 85 years ago? Does that matter? Who's interpreting it by a difference of a few years? If it's about something that was written 87 years ago and is about theories of life and ontology
No.
and things that exist beyond time?
Yes.
Who says yes? You can't say yes just because you're going to call Koschak old.
But that just because he's older doesn't mean he started studying about Heidegger way back when.
Because Arun came out of
It's experience. It's experience.
No, Koschak, you don't even
do it.
Independent research. All downtime is prep time. If you're doing a lot of research on the topic, you will know without asking or going to step 2 whether or not these people's studies or these people's arguments are correct. Make sense? What's step 2? Aurora, you said it a second ago.
Ask them in CX and make sure it's not made up evidence.
You think somebody would do that? Really come into round and make up evidence?
Yeah, we wasted about 2 hours on it earlier.
Yeah. You should go to the honesty elective, Becca.
Last and CX. My lab, you all have 10 cards tonight. Okay, this is silly. Okay. Can be revoked. Listen, so ask in CX. What's next? So we ask in CX, okay? The CX count?
Yeah, CX is binding.
Okay, but can I judge in CX?
If you want to.
Okay, Jacob.
You can actually ask to see the card with the citation.
Oh, okay. Double check. But this assumes, right, for all the credentials, all things being equal, right? The great thing is, most evidence isn't created equally. So you can attack methodology, how was it concluded, who wrote it, what their reasoning was, who paid them to do it, where they work, what their history is, what the card says. You can do all of those things, right? So then the third step is what? What did Vicini not do? You gotta make the argument, make the comparison. Okay? So these two, when not in round, so after you get the citation and you lose on it, and then you find, oh, this is actually a really good article. I want to read about it. That can then inform your research, right? So these two steps constantly inform each other and work together to make this happen. Does that make sense? What?
I got it. I got it.
All right. So now does anybody have any questions about how to compare arguments? Because at the end of the day, what happened to Vicini? He made a lot of arguments, but he didn't compare. So what did he rely on? A switch, a luck. Because ultimately he believed that the poison was in front of his goblet. Right? That's why he switched them. But he never told us why. At the end of the day, Vicini died. Does anybody know which cup was poisoned?
Both.
Who hasn't
Both of
seen
the
the movie?
cups.
You guys ruined this. I've not seen the movie.
Okay. They're both poisoned.
What if you want to kill himself?
It's not. He has a resistance to iocane powder. But he didn't know that because he wasn't asking questions to Wesley about where he was, what he was doing, why he all of a sudden had this random really scary poison just in his pocket. Right? These are all things, clarification questions, that can help you deduce, right, which argument is better, and therefore not die. Or in debate, we call it winning. Okay, I need, how many are there total? Okay, we're gonna number you off, to
100.
to, groups of 7, since there are 7 lab leaders. So we're gonna start with Nicole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Jordan 7, Jacob 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 4,
1.
Oh, not Kelly.
2.
4.
Max. 5. And then, yeah, Rourke, 1. Okay, so you can do this on your own. You can count.
5.
6.
8.
No, 1. 1.
4.
7. 2. What you need to do now is you each need to take, does everyone have written cases? I want you to choose your best argument in the in your aft case and your neg case. And then meet with the person who's in charge. Alex will meet with the 1s. TJ will meet with the 2s. Courtney will meet with the 3s. John with the 4s. Myself the 5s. 6 and 7. And what we're going to do is we're going to one person is going to be aft in the circle and the other person is going to be neg. And they're going to present their best argument, and the rest of the circle is going to try to find ways using their neg arguments to make comparisons and then give a 30-second speech comparing the arguments. Make sense? Not comparing impacts, okay? We've done a lot of that. Comparing the arguments that are made, weighing the warrants. Anybody have any questions? Go forth. If you're live, come over here. Fives right here. My computer.
What's up?
I'm good. Just to watch.
We're recording lecture.
Strongest argument.
He's lecturing.